Welcome to this half of Talking Europe. The EU is the world's largest overseas aid donor, something it is very proud of, but how much does it give and to whom and in what way? Well, this week a new consensus on development was signed. It looks at the aid spending priorities for the next decade or so and incorporates the UN development goals such as poverty eradication, protecting gender equality, fighting climate change. Some critics, however, say it puts the focus on business to the detriment of people in need. And there's also concerns that it makes aid contingent on migration control and qualifies some security spending as development aid. Well, to find out more about what exactly it has, we have come to the European Commission to meet with the Commissioner for International Cooperation and Development, Mr. Neven Mimica. Thanks for your time, Mr. Mimica. Let me start with this consensus on development. What has been agreed to and who has agreed to it?
Yes, new European consensus on development is actually the European Union's response to the implementation of the Global Sustainable Development Goals agenda. When I say it's European consensus, it means this is a consensus owned by the member states and the EU institutions, which means this is the way how the European Union in its entirety will do development business
in the future. And what does that consist of? Are we giving more aid to developing countries, less aid? Are we changing the way we're giving aid?
Actually, it's more about changing the way of doing development. It's about bringing all the policies or the most of European policies in line with the development goals, with the sustainable development goals. It is about bringing economic, social, environmental impact of development together, not as a conflicting elements of the development, but as a comprehensive approach. When I speak of bringing other policies into function of development, it means that we shall be now taking forward stronger links and interactions between development and peace and security, development and humanitarian aid, development and migration and mobility. This is actually the core of the new Global Sustainable Development Goals agenda, to have interlinked policy coherence for development.
So how do you respond? Because NGOs are, you mentioned migration there, and some NGOs are quite concerned that, you know, countries will get aid from the EU if they enter into line with certain conditions when it comes to migration control and the flow.
No, this is not the very core, the very nature of the development policy. Development assistance, development aid could not and should not be conditional to any other impacts.
But you know, when I've been looking at the EU over the last year and a half or so, or even since that Valletta summit back in 2015, it does look that our relationship, for example, with the continent of Africa, is becoming more and more about that migration question, and indeed, you know, setting up, you know, trying to end the reason people migrate, you know, provide better economic opportunities in their home countries, security. Is that the way the EU is going in terms of development when it comes to the continent of Africa?
Yes, Africa will definitely be in the focus of European development policy and development partnership. Therefore, our development relationship with Africa will be very much about investing in youth in the next period. Of course, there are other issues that we have also to deal together, for instance, migration, mobility. Tackling the root causes of migration is and will be at the core of development action in Africa. Some might say that we even divert development assistance to migration management or stopping migration. But I would argue that this is not the right argument, because there is no diversion of development assistance toward migration, because migration is a part of development cooperation. Tackling the root causes of migration is development by itself. Poverty is at the core of migratory incentives. We want to make migration work for development and development work for migration.
Indeed, on the ground for a lot of countries, there is quite a legitimate link between the economy and development and migration. There have been a few concerns, though, that some EU member states are using their overseas development budget or aid package to pay for, you know, housing refugees that arrive into the EU. Is that fair?
Actually, this is a part of the let us say of the rules what could be considered or reported as a official development assistance, so-called in-donors costs, or hosting refugees and migrants at home in the host countries in Europe, in the member states, could be reported as a development assistance according to the OECD rules. And it could be done only for the first year of hosting the refugees. But when you look at the level of or the growth of the official development assistance by the member states and the European Commission, you will notice that only 25% of the increase in our official development assistance came from this in-donor in-house cost for refugees. All others, three quarters, are a real increase of development assistance other than at home.
And give us a ballpark figure. I mean, how much does the EU, very proud to be the world's largest donor, but still not really meeting that OECD, target of 0.7% of gross national product?
Yes, indeed, European Union is the largest donor or the largest provider of the official development assistance globally. We are over 58, almost 60% of the global assistance. Last year, it was 75.5 billion euros that came from the member states and the European Commission to our partner countries. This is an increase of 11% compared to the last or 2015. And it is a fact that the European Union's level or relative level of development assistance is now at 0.51% of the GNI, as the global target is 0.7. So we are still not there, but European Union is the only international entity that committed to reaching 0.7 by 2030. So we are on a good trajectory to reach 0.7. Being at 0.5 right now, and 0.5. This is more than double than other non-EU donors reached so far.
And the lowest common denominator. But one thing I was looking at as well, it seems in the past a lot of development aid went to those emergency situations. Now we're looking for more sustainable development, if you like. And there is one part of that external investment plan, which means taking 3.35 billion euros from the overseas development aid and using that, if you like, to guarantee investment from private companies to try and, take the risk out of setting up companies away from them. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Sustainable Development Goals agenda is very broad agenda that requires enormous funding for reaching the Sustainable Development Goals. We assess that even more than 3 trillion euros every year would be needed in order to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. The official development assistance, if it were at 0.7% of GNI, it could be maybe 300 billion euros, or 10 times less than the overall goal. Therefore, the true beauty of the true value of the new agenda is its comprehensiveness. It no longer relies on the official development assistance only. It's not ODA centered on public money, public aid. It is a comprehensive mix between aid, public money, private sector investments, and domestic resources of the partner countries, developing countries, and also a mix of good policies, enhancing policies that would enable us to come to that level.
Because taking the 3.35 billion away from your overseas development aid and giving it to the private sector, is that not meaning less money for the people in need, going directly to them?
Actually, opposite. The whole issue is how to engage a part of this grant capacity, public money, to engage it in order to leverage, to generate other, especially private investment sources. We have this plan of European External Investment Plan now, 4 billion euros of European grants, blended with the financial and lending capacity of the international institutions, generating, mobilizing at least 44 billion euros for private investments in the countries where they otherwise would not go because of the risky environment.
Businesses, you say, that wouldn't normally go there, and you're guaranteeing more or less that their investment won't lead to losses?
Actually, they would not go there just by, let us say, commercial banking risk assessment rules, if they are applied only. But we would like to combine the commercial and banking rules with the development goals. We would like to have a private sector as our really strong development partner. Therefore, we engage public money to secure some of the European guarantees in order to cover if some of the risks really occur, and these losses are not to be foreseen right now, because the whole package of external investment is not only about funding the concessional loans, it's not only about guarantees, it's also about creating a better economic investment environment, atmosphere in the developing countries, de-risking the let us say, the playground there, and offering technical assistance to identifying and formulating bankable projects there. So in this combination, we see that the riskier environment in Africa, especially, will be much less riskier and will be much more inducive for the private sector to go into this investment.
Okay, so really helping private sector to go into countries that they just maybe don't know as well as other areas. So you offer them guarantees, but then are there checks and balances on how they carry out their business, what kind of businesses they set up?
Actually, this is an important element, because let us say, the selection process of the potential private investments that would be covered with the guarantees and that will be financed by the concessional loans. This selection process will be guided, let us say, by development criteria. But one of the most important criteria is additionality. We shall select, or we shall grant these guarantees to the projects that would otherwise not go just by their commercial or banking consideration. So additionality is important, and therefore this is a contribution of private sector to development if it is additional. And
in the long term, afterwards, once they've set up shop, you'll be looking at, how they carry out their business, the conditions that they.
Yes, because the whole goal, the whole gist of this development or external investment exercise is to have a successful engagement of a domestic private sector with the European private sector, and this should be
a long-term partner.
Yeah, this should be a long-term process that is also monitored, that is with all the reporting schemes under this plan, and this is about taking care of our guarantees as well, not to be activated.
That money. Mr. Mimica, give me an idea though. Then will there be a lot of foreign companies setting up shop to make a profit in a lot of African countries, for example? And is that not, taking again from their resources, profiting in these poor developing countries, rather than just investing directly with local companies on the ground?
I see that the real potential and the real benefit of the external investment plan is that we bring business, that we bring investments to our African partners, not bringing companies that would extract the value or resources from our African partners, but that would add value, that would actually work along the lines of new value chains, of enabling economy in African countries to grow with a new investment that would actually manufacture more, that will elevate the level of manufacturing, and that would actually add value to the chains of productions.
And that will be part of the criteria then to get these grants.
That is important contribution and important criteria for the European External Investment Plan.
And if I understand correctly, this investment plan kicks off September?
We do hope, yes, September or at the latest during the European Union-Africa Summit in November in Abidjan. By then we have to finalize last pieces, last touches on the legislative proposals that are needed for the whole investment exercise to be launched. Parliament and the Council is about to finalize, and in autumn, yes, we do hope that the first investments will start flowing in Africa.
From all over Europe, I imagine, and indeed from African countries themselves.
Oh yes,
they're also eligible.
Yes,
locals have a say in.
This is investment fund, investment plan for private investments in Africa and European neighborhood. So we expect that the links, that the cooperation and collaboration between African private sector and the European private sector would contribute to development partnership.
Okay, well, Mr. Mimica, it's been so lovely talking to you. We're already out of time, but lots of interesting topics on the table there. Thanks again for your time, and thanks to you at home for having watched. That brings us to the end already of this edition of Talking Europe.